Welcome to Early Years Weekly number 12. We'll start with a big congratulations to everyone who put in effort last week for children in need. I spoke to lots of busy nursery managers and practitioners who were getting ready for Friday. So thank you so much for your efforts. They're really appreciated, and we hope you had a great time.
On with the show! So this week, we finally got the opportunity to have a nursery owner speak live to our nation's Prime Minister about 30 hours and the funding rate issues that we have. Roopam Caroll, who is a nursery owner and happy family user from Beeston, got the opportunity to ask Boris Johnson about why her costs are rising and yet the funding rates are staying the same. She was brilliant. She was emotive and passionate, and she talked about how she really wanted to provide outstanding childcare for the parents in her area, but that she was being undercut by 40p an hour because of the funding rates, and really skewered him on asking him whether they were going to make any changes, and of course, sadly, he didn't commit to anything.
Yeah, and I think along those lines, it was also quite worrying to see that when host Rachel Burden asked Boris Johnson, did he know the rate that these providers were getting from the government, he simply didn't have a clue. So he was kind of defending something that he really didn't know very much about. Additionally, she kind of mentioned that the fact that women make up such a large part of the workforce, perhaps that's something to do with it. So they talked about that for a little while. But of course, we will have to wait until the manifesto is released to see if Roopam's call made a difference. But it was really, really promising to see, and she did a great job. So another thing that was mentioned on the call by Johnson was business rate cuts. And he did say towards the end of the clip that he would be looking at doing what he can to support businesses like Roopam's with these business rate cuts and other measures.
Yeah, and this is something that was backed up at his CBI conference speech yesterday, when he talked about announcing a fundamental review of business rates in their first budget. Now, business rates can be a big part of costs because of the size of a lot of providers' buildings. So it would be a really welcome relief if we did see some changes to this and help to deal with the funding situation that's going on.
So the Lib Dems actually went one step further yesterday and announced that they would scrap business rates altogether in favour of a land ownership levy. It's obviously difficult to know how this will pan out and without all the details, but it's very promising to see that this key issue is getting discussed. So next, regarding the DfE actually refusing to release the 30 hours funding figures. Now, a few weeks ago, we reported on the DfE being made to release these figures on how they calculate the funding rates. And instead of meeting the 14th of November deadline, they actually refused to publish these figures. Instead, they've launched an appeal against the ICO decision, which I think is pretty worrying.
Definitely. I think it's quite clear that for so many years now, we've heard that the funding rates are calculated properly, they're in line with costs, and yet again we're seeing a refusal to evidence that. I think it just shows the fact that they want to kick this into the long grass during an election campaign. Makes me worry, what are they trying to hide? They obviously don't want to release these figures for a reason, and it's definitely a worry. As Neil Leach from the Early Years Alliance said, really it's actually pretty shameful.
So last week, a couple of the family team actually headed over to the UK to attend the Nursery World Business Summit, one of those being Matt, so do you want to...
Yeah, we had it was a really fascinating day with so many talks, and I wanted to share a little bit about some of what we learned. So first up, we had a fantastic talk on Ofsted by Penny Akehurst, and she's been doing a lot of analysis of the changes since the EIF came in. Some interesting stuff on there, that there is more of a focus on the quality of teaching and learning, that it looks like outstanding may be harder to achieve, but that actually the inspections themselves felt more informal and more observation-based. There's been a focus on curriculum knowledge and behaviour in the settings, and that they wanted to see more in-depth practitioner knowledge. One of the really positive things to come out of this is that it seems that they're asking the right questions at the right level. And what I mean by that is that they're not just bulldozering in with all of this new language and vocabulary like cultural capital and intent implementation impact and expecting every single practitioner to know about it. They're pitching the ideas at the right level of language so that everyone can answer them. We also had a great talk on the EYFS by Jan Dubiel, who is on the panel for the reformation of the ELGs and the EYFS. And again, some really interesting stuff on that. He talks a lot about how to answer the consultation and how to make sure that you're paying attention to the detail so that you're making the right recommendations. And also ensuring some really important stuff, that some of the things that people are most worried about are not being included, that the characteristics of effective learning are not up for debate, that the prime and specific areas are not up for debate. And that's just really good to see that we're not going to end up having those things that we know are super important compromised. Yeah, so in general, a really fantastic event, and also great to see so many happy family customers come up to me and say that family's made a real difference to their settings.
So ending this Early Years Weekly on a nice Twitter post that we saw from Suzanne about her 6-year-old daughter who posted a shopping list for her sister's birthday. Oof. Now, really cute, and I have to say, Babby Bells is my favourite.
I was quite into the mini pizzas or the cocktail good. Sausages.
The English language is silly.
Makes you realise how stupid it is, really. This is how the English language should be spelled. That's it for this week. As ever, do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this with anyone who you think might be interested in learning a little bit more about what's going on in the early years world.
Thank you for watching.